Alright, hello again students. This is your second video from me, my video. And this is something that you will want to definitely look at as well. It's pretty important stuff. Okay, so let's get right into this. Let's make myself out of the way here. Now this is also, of course, in Module 1. And at the end of Module 1, you will come to this 1.2 assignment research question. What you always want to do when you come to these assignments is you'll notice there are assignments, you can tell by this little icon, and you always want to click on this guy right here that says Guidelines Rubric. Now you may remember this from if you took 101, if you took English 130, then you probably remember all this stuff, what it looks like and everything. So this should be nothing new for you. But if you took 101 level class somewhere else and transferred into this class, then this is something you might need to know about. So that's why I'm discussing it. So once you get into the assignment guidelines and rubric, you will see that first thing it provides you that's extremely important is the directions. You've got to make sure you read these directions. Remember I told you in the first video that it's good to take notes, especially on things that are in bold. Here you go. You have some things that are in bold. These categories, articles, topics, this is all the stuff that counts. It's all the stuff that you really have to make sure you do and do correctly here in week 1 so that you're set for the rest of this term. Right? You're set for the rest of the term as long as you do this correctly. So, notice that it follows the same organization pattern as what I went over in video 1. The research document. So project research document, I think it was called. So that document is basically this stuff, same thing as this stuff. But this is basically the instructions for how to consider each part. So you go through and like it says here, you review the categories in the project resources document. That's it right there. Not research resources. Linked in the supporting materials section. And so forth and so on. I won't read all these because they're basically the same as what I just went over in that other video. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring you down here to this stuff here, which is really, really important as well. I mean, it's all important, but this is stuff. Some of this stuff is stuff you just have to use. You can't do without. So here's the process resource or project resources document again. So that's the same thing I already showed you. You can just, it's like I said, you'll see that a lot of different places, but it's always the same document. So you'll make sure you have that up, and then you want to look at the assignment exemplar. The exemplars, as you probably saw in my, maybe you've already seen in my week 1 announcement, the exemplars are really vital for you to use whenever they're available. Now, if you took 130, you've probably seen that there were exemplars for every single assignment. This time around, there's not exemplars for every single assignment, but there are for several of them. And the exemplars, when you have them, they are what you really want to look at. Now, the research question template, I'm going to touch on all 3 of these a little bit more specifically. But the research question template is sort of goes along with this exemplar, but it's only giving you a little bit of help and guidance about how to create your research question. That's all it has to do with. Out of all of that project information, that's only what you will want to use for your research question. If you want to submit your response to this along with your paper, you could do that. But the main thing I'm going to be looking for is that you actually submit the paper based on the exemplar. So what you'll do is follow. These rubrics are always available to you too. I like to use the rubrics as a checklist at the end after I've done the whole assignment. I go through and I make sure everything fits where I want it to, which is obviously, of course, proficient. Most of us want to be proficient, right? So after you've written your paper, now you can use it as you go along. You can look at it whenever you want. Obviously, it's yours to look at. But I think it does a good job of helping you to make sure, as a checklist, to make sure you've gotten everything in there that's supposed to be there before you actually submit it to me on Sunday. So, just go through and look what it has: category, article, topic, research question, purpose, clear communication. All those are worth, some of them are worth 10, 20, 30 points. And you just basically go through and you try to do your best to answer each one of these as proficiently as possible. In other words, as thoroughly as possible. And if you follow the exemplar, you will be doing that. So that's why the exemplars are so important. So if you had me by any chance in English 130, you know how I harp on the exemplars. So be sure to use those, okay? Now, let me show you, well, you already seen this one, so let me show you the exemplar real quick. So when you bring the exemplar up, you will see here in about 5 minutes, hopefully not, you will see the exemplar. Now this looks just like what we looked at in that handout, except it's actually a guide, right? It's showing you how yours should look. So this is what you should do. You should try to make yours look like this. Or not an exact copy of it, obviously, but do what it does. Use it to show you, or as your guide. So the first thing you have to do is select the category. For that, all you got to do is say, I selected whatever category. Remember, it was higher education in the example. Then for part 2, and you can use this as you can literally copy this, paste it into a Word document, and then just replace all this stuff with your own information. I have no problem with you doing that as long as you don't repeat the same information. Okay, so you just make sure that you have different wording, obviously, and different stuff. Now, you obviously, if you choose this same one, then it's going to show up on the Turnitin thing as a copy, but I'll understand that. I'll know that, so don't worry about that. But you might remember, you're probably familiar with the Turnitin. I don't know why it's doing that. Why is it doing that? You might be familiar with the Turnitin and how that works. Basically, it has what's called a similarity report or something like that, something to that effect. And in that similarity report, it's basically telling me and you if the information in the paper has been maybe plagiarized or not. And I usually don't worry too much about that, because if you use this like I told you to and you copy and paste it, then a lot of this stuff is going to be the same. If you keep all, number 1, number 2, if you keep the actual sentences, the actual guides and stuff all the same, then it's going to show up as maybe 30 or 40% or whatever, as long as your grade isn't over 50% by anything, by very much. If your similarity score, or whatever the score is called in Turnitin, if that score is over like 60 for sure, then I'm going to have to look at it a little bit more deeply and question it. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. Also, and if you haven't already heard this, you'll hear it now. You've got to make sure you don't what we call self-plagiarize. You cannot, like, let's say you took this class 190 last semester or last month, year, or whatever, and you failed it. You can't take those same answers you gave, those same responses, and just duplicate them here. If you do, that's going to show like 90, 80, 90, 100% of similarity score, and that's definitely going to be a problem, because then that is actually technically a form of plagiarism. It's not as bad as straight out plagiarizing somebody else's work, but SNHU considers it to be a bad thing, and we don't want you to do that. So don't copy your own work, and also obviously don't copy somebody else's. All right, back to this. So for these, you just you just copy and paste this in here the way you did it first time. Then these, you'll have to answer these, right? So identify a debatable topic related to the source. This one, you'll just say the issue I've identified is the need to provide health care for adjuncts. And then B, the perspective is that healthcare is right, and then blah, blah, blah. So you're just answering these questions and using this sort of as your template to do that. Now, that other item here, this guy here, the research question template, that, when you see it, you will see, like I said, it only relates to the one part of this whole assignment. And that's the research question. So, again, if it ever comes up here, yeah, I know, I probably should have had this already up, but, oh well. So, come on. Excuse me. All right, so as you can see here, basically what it does is it just provides you some suggested templates here, right? So here's the suggested template. In order to solve the problem of blank, what does blank need to do? And then they give an example. In order to solve the problem of digital redlining, what do state governments need to do to create better access? That's just simply how you can create your research question. And that's all this is about. Once you've used this to create a nice, a good research template, then you can simply take that and put it right into here. What's your research question about? And you'll just put that stuff in here wherever it asks for it, right? Probably under the complex discussion. So you just answer these questions all the way through here in your own words. Obviously, don't copy paste stuff, except for like you can copy and paste like the higher ed selection and this part here. But but obviously you can't copy and paste this if you're choosing a different article. But please don't choose the same article they did just because it's a tiny bit easier. Look at all the articles, or at least look at the categories, and find something that interests you, right? Something you feel you enjoy doing, or maybe learning more about, even if you don't know a lot about it. So use this to your benefit, as always, and you're going to get tired of hearing me say this. I don't think I even said it in the first video, which is kind of a shocker for me. If you are having any kind of trouble whatsoever, I don't care what it's about, please talk to me. Let me know. All right? You'll notice that you'll see this in the instructions, but I'm going to mention it here again as a reminder. Not the instructions, but in the first as announcements. There is a thing on in the course here under discussions. It's the very first discussion here is called class discussions, and it's general questions. And in this general questions, that's where you can go in and you can ask a question about the class or about the course or about the work, something that everybody would benefit from hearing the answer to. That's where you should put it. That way, anybody that wants to can look in there and they can see the answers, and maybe they've had the same question and now they'll have our answer to it. Our discussion will help answer it for them. Obviously, if you don't want to put something in here that has to do with your grades or anything that you feel like might be personal or embarrassing. Obviously, there's nothing to ever be embarrassed about, but put it in an email and just send me an email if it's personal. But otherwise, if it's not personal and it's something your peers can benefit from, please put it in the general questions discussion. All right, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, I hope you all appreciate the videos. Let me know what you think about them, and that will do it for this one.